Hey guys, welcome back. So this is the follow-up video to the unboxing I'd done of this camera, which I hope you had checked out. This is just a quick review of how I like the camera, some of the few features it has. I did not do a live me out in the real world using it. That's just not my style. But I do have some sample photos that I've taken with the camera, and so we're going to go over some of those. So here's the camera again. And this camera I really do like. It's not my favorite of the Polaroid because I like the vintage cameras. But this camera does a great job and I highly still recommend it. Especially for people like a lot of the features. One of the greatest features of this camera, if you go with this one, is that it has a built-in battery, which you'll charge right here. And since it has a built-in battery, you can buy the I-type film, which does not have a battery in the pack, so it makes it a little cheaper, a few dollars cheaper. So that is one big advantage point to this camera, that you don't have to buy the 600 film, which has a battery built in it. But it can take the 600 film. You can still use a 600 film in this, but why do that whenever you can buy the I-type film for a little bit cheaper, and you're helping the environment a little bit. I'm not a huge, I'm not a big environmentalist by no means, but I do not like a lot of the waste that it comes. So I try to recycle my film packs whenever I can. I also take the batteries out of the 600 packs and recycle those separately. I really wish Polaroid would come up with some kind of program to send those batteries back to them, for free or something. Like send you a little box, fill it up with batteries, and you can send it back. Hopefully they are watching this and hear that, because that would be a great program. Because it does really kind of bug me that that there's so many batteries being thrown away in the trash. Because I know a lot of people do that instead of recycle them. All right, off that. So back to the camera. So one of the biggest things to always remember about any Polaroid cameras or instant cameras like this, especially with the Polaroids, you need to keep your rollers clean. I can't stress that enough. I know it sounds crazy, but it makes all the difference in the world. But we'll go, because if you're not, you're going to get messed up photos, and we'll go over that here in a moment. But so this was just how you open it. Again, like that. And it even tells you, I like that, how they have this little sticker there, that it tells you I-type or 600. So it tells you what kind of film you can use in this. And it reminds you. Again, here's your shutter button. Take your photos. Your Bluetooth connection. This is your little timer light when you want to do the timer setting. Over here is your adjustment for the dark or lighter photo exposures. The middle, of course, is just normal. Negative, of course, is for darker. Extends your shutter time. And positive is for lighter, so it makes the shutter time faster. One of the coolest features of this camera is it has two built-in lenses. You can see them here switch. So on the top, it indicates to you what those are. This is for portrait or close-up, like selfies or whatever. I think it's 2 to 4 feet is the setting. And then over here is 4 feet to infinity. So it's for longer distance shots. Don't forget to always switch that back and forth depending on what you're doing, because I have done that and I'm like, why is my photo so blurry? And then I realized I didn't switch that. I do love that they've added this viewfinder extension tube onto this. It makes a huge difference. And I do like that you do have an option to have a tripod, which I have mounted this before and done some self photos with the timer feature. And with the app. Oh, one more thing to go over real quick again is here's your off and on switch. Right here's your status battery light. When you're charging, it goes from red, yellow, and green. Green's fully charged. And here's your flash off button. It shuts off your flash. Just to turn it on, you'll start seeing your Bluetooth light blinking. If you had film in here, we'll go ahead and light up and tell you how many film packs were left here, which I have no film, so it's not going to light up any. And then on the back here, too, your battery light, it's kind of hard to see. It's bright light, but it's green right now, so it lets you know your battery's still good. Now, we're going to leave it on and come to my phone, which I'll unlock here real fast. you'll want to go to your app. And the app is essential for this phone. I'm for this camera. Sorry about that. It gives you a lot of pointers on how to do it, little tips and tricks and stuff like that, an inspiration feature. So you can just click on whichever one, OneStep Plus, which is now you've got access to your camera. Another way to know if your camera's connected is now seeing the little plus sign is not blinking any longer, so it's fully connected. So here is just remote shutter, which I like this feature a lot, especially if you're using a tripod or if you're trying to do a group photo or whatever. I like how it gives you the status down here of your camera. Right now it's telling me no film, status of the Bluetooth, the battery, and tell me what lens I have it on. So that's really cool too. So if I switch to lens, it tells me, oh, Polaroid. And it even tells me in meters what I've got. I've got 0.3 to 0.9 meters features. And then we're back to that, which is 0.6 meters to infinity. That's really cool. Here's self timer, which I like this feature that you can adjust the timer. So if you got a big group of people and you really need to try to get everyone, situated, you can always add more time on your timer. You can go up to 12 seconds, which is a pretty long timer. So I like that feature a lot. And then your little light here, down here, will blink and then it gets solid whenever it is ready to go, right before the picture's taken. So that's kind of nice. Double exposure feature is really cool. I have only done a few shots with it. It is neat. I love using it. It's really cool. But if you're doing double exposure, you have to use this button, not the shutter button on the camera. It will not work. You'll just take a regular photo. You have to use this. I learned that the hard way. The very first time I tried it, I thought, okay, it's on double exposure. It'll automatically do it. Even just using the shutter button, it does not. So I learned that. You have to use the button here. Light painting, I've never have tried. I don't quite understand it, I guess. I do, but I don't. Not with this camera, so I never have tried it. But I guess you can get some really cool effects. And you can set the time elapse, and here's how you're holding it down right now. See, my light comes on the back of my phone. You can kind of use your phone, do like swishels in the photo, and it's going to, keep your shutter open. It's going to catch all those light trails. Kind of like light trails is what it's going to do. The noise trigger, I've not really used either. As you can see that I'm setting it up now, but you can move this down and then based on where it hits, it's going to take a photo. So kind of cool. I guess that'd be kind of cool if you're trying to catch something. I don't know. Maybe set up a little thing. And then manual mode is really cool. Anybody that knows even a little bit about photography loves to be able to have the feature of having total control of your camera. So you can set like your time, your shutter time, speed and all that. You can set your aperture. And the light meter on this thing, which is in this little hole here. This is going to see how the light meter is already moving on my camera based on how much light's coming in right now. See, so you can kind of use that to help you do your manual settings too. So the more I open it up, see it's moving it. The more I open the aperture up. Same thing with the shutter speed. See, look at that. And you always want to try to get close as you can to the zero. It's going to get you the best shot. You can do your flash off and off on here. And you can even do eject, so you can shut the eject off and do kind of a double exposure this way through manual mode, which is kind of cool. And then here's your shutter button, which you have to again use the shutter button on the app if you want these features to take effect, because this shutter button here will override the app and it's just going to use whatever's in the camera. So that's one of the nice features of the app. The app is really cool. Highly recommend it. Really like it. The other thing is if you want to preserve your photos, you have the scanner option. So this is going to tell you, it's going to automatically, I'll show you one photo. See how I got the green things around it? And it's even kind of telling you, hey, this is move a bit back. See when it turns green, hold it, take it. And then you have your photo, and it perfectly crops it. So that's a really cool way to preserve your Polaroids and make them digital instantly for yourself. It's a great feature. It also, then you can also do manual adjusting if you need to, but the app does a really good job of auto cropping everything. You can kind of like change the lighting around your edge here. Don't know why you really want to do that, but you can do that. And then you can either send it to a friend or save it directly to your images. And then hit save here, because this will also store it in the app, which is pretty cool. And there you go. It's in my photos in the app. So you always have it. Here's some ones I've taken the other day too. It's me and my coworkers. There's my kitty. I did the black and white photo with this one. I know that's not black and white. It is color. But so it is cool. I do like the app a lot. The app is really essential with this camera. So now I do want to go over, and so inspiration, like I told you, it gives you some points and tips and tricks, and some pointers on how to use the camera. So it's pretty cool. So a few things I want to go over about the camera though real fast. So here's some photos I did take. They come out really good. These photos here I really like. I'm lucky I live in an old city, so we have a lot of really cool architecture and buildings. This was a huge Catholic church. It's been there for like 155 years, something like that. They just celebrated their 150th year like 5 years ago. So really cool. But one thing I was going to show you though, that's where I kept some of these, is this was set on, because since the sun was directly shining onto this building, I wanted this image, I don't know if it'll show up in here or not. That kind of does. It's a really cool painting on the side of this building they have on there. It's been there for years. But when I even set it on the less exposure, the darker side, it's still, the sun just washed it out. I was really kind of disappointed in that. I tried regular and darker exposure and just didn't really work out. But when the sun works right and everything, you can get some really cool shots. Here's a great one of some fall leaves. This is a really cool cemetery entrance. I really like this one. So I had to stop and take a picture of it. It's in the cemetery kind of close to where I live. It's in Terre Haute, Indiana. And then here in Brazil, we have a lot of historic buildings too. This is the original post office building. It's huge and very old. Now it's the museum. So I had to take 2 photos of this. I'm going to show you something different. So this is the second photo I took, which turned out really well. This was the very first photo I took with this camera, with this film pack too, which is the gradient thing, which I really like that. I like that they have different film now. But look at this. See how it has blemishes here, through here, down at the bottoms. This is not necessarily the film problem. One thing that I cannot stress enough about Polaroid cameras and the maintenance of them is the single most important thing you can do is keep your rollers clean. Because that right there is what it was. And this was a brand new camera out of the factory, but I did not clean the rollers. And it's recommended, I think, even from Polaroid, to clean the rollers after every pack of film. So the best way to do that, which I recommend, is you can either do water, which is what they claim or do, which if you really truly get some chemical, because sometimes these images can squirt a little chemical out in the edges, and that's the number one reason why your rollers get dirty. So I like a little bit more of a chemical to it, so it's going to cut right through those chemicals. So here is just some rubbing alcohol I have, and I got some on my counter here, but I just like to soak down a thing. And on the OneStep Plus, because these rollers don't freely move, unlike the vintage ones. The vintage cameras, you can just finger roll your rollers. That sounds a little weird, but you can move them freely. So what you have to do to get this into cleaning mode is have your camera off, back here in the back, open up your rollers, and then push your shutter button and your flash override button together at the same time. And what's going to happen is, okay, sorry about that. So I had a little technical difficulties getting this into cleaning mode. So cleaning mode is when you open it, have the camera off, and you push in, like I said, again, your flash override button and your shutter button at the same time. So you just have your fingers like this, and your rollers should hear them. They're just inching along. And what I do is just take a Q-tip, and you just want to wipe across your roller, push it, wipe again, push again. So it's a couple minute process. It really is. So I do this about 5 times on the top roller. That should get all the way across it. Now, there is one more roller you got to get to though, and it's a little more difficult. And sometimes too with Q-tips, you are going to leave a little bit of Q-tip dust behind, which is fine. We'll show you how to clean that off. Your second roller is below this one. So I put this inside of here and kind of like sandwich it in between the two and just push the button quite a bit and just come across like this. So now that I got this all cleaned off, I do push the button a few times and have my finger on it, trying to get any of the cotton swab off. And you really don't want to be holding it up like this because you don't want the cotton fragments to go onto your mirror, because then you're going to get distortion on your images. So you want to hold it down like this and keep pushing your button until you get it all cleaned off. And then when it does a rapid speed like that, it's going to do that sometimes. Do a rapid speed, that's fine. And then just make sure good and clean, dry. I also blow a little bit inside the thing just to make sure you're getting dust off the mirror. And then it's going to do that. You know, run the rollers again, and that you're all done. So I can't stress enough, because this was because of dirty rollers, this image here. And so I stopped. I immediately, went home because I lived, in the town. I cleaned the rollers off, and then when I took the second image, it was fine. There was one little blemish right there, but it's a night and day difference. And then as more images were taken, of course, it did just fine. There was no blemishes. So if you ever now sometimes you can get bad film, don't get me wrong, but Polaroid now, this year especially, the whole 2018 packs of film have been so much better than what they were in the past. Because in the past, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't buy Polaroid because of how bad the film was. I'm like, why would I buy something that I'm lucky to get 3 images out of a pack of 8, and I'm spending $20 for 3 images? That was just crazy to me. So I never really did Polaroid until this year when I seen that their film was much better. Because, it is a big investment, especially with Polaroid. But I love Polaroid because I like the nostalgia of a vintage type camera. You really cannot get the look of a Polaroid without a Polaroid. Instax, I love Instax too. I'm not against Instax at all. The Fuji Instax film, it's very, vibrant colors, very nice too. But they're not this big. Polaroid is a nice size photo. It really is. And you cannot mimic them, because Polaroid, yes, they have vibrant colors, but they're a little bit milky, and I like that milky look. It gives that vintage feel that you're used to seeing in Polaroid. And you just can't mimic that with anything else. So that's why I went with Polaroid once when the film got better. And the film they're constantly working on the film. So over time, even from now, the film is probably going to get better and maybe hopefully develop faster. What I've read, I don't know how true this is, but what I read was when Polaroid shut down the last factory, they destroyed the formulation of their film. So when the Impossible Project took over the factory and bought it, they had to start from scratch on the formulation of the film. So that's why at first it was just so bad, because they literally had to start from scratch. Real quick too, I'll show you how we load film in. So here is a pack here. And you just open it up like this. And they always give you a nice little instruction manual how to take great photos, you know, and what to do and what not to do. And then, so you're always this side here, and I like these little stickers they put on here. Is a pull tab, but if they're collared, you know, have color on them, it's obviously colored film. If they're black and white, they're going to be black and white. So just open your door. You just insert the film like that. Shut the door. And it's going to eject your dark slide automatically. And then up here, when you turn the camera on, you should have all 8, because I have just put a brand new pack of film in. So it gives your indication of, you know, what how many exposures you have left. So all in all, I would recommend this camera, very much so. It's just like I said, I'm more of the vintage, you know, kind of person. So I like the more vintage cameras because it just gives you more of the nostalgia. Because as a child, I used Polaroid all the time, as I'm sure a lot of kids my age. I'm in my 30s. Even older than me too, of course, and remember Polaroid wonderfully. I really hope a company is going to start making the flash bars. I love the flash cubes and the flash bars. That just adds more to the nostalgia. I mean, it is nice having the built-in flash, don't get me wrong, but on the really vintage cameras like early 80s on back, 70 cameras, you need flash bars. And those cameras still work very well. So I really hope that, you know, a company, you can still buy flash bars, but they're very expensive and they're usually old and you're running a risk of them not working. So I really hope that a company will start making those again. But we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this quick review. It wasn't quick, it was kind of a long video. But I really like this camera. I would recommend it. It's a great Christmas gift. Also, too, I was going to touch on the film again. Your best friend is to refrigerate your film. Please refrigerate it because it does truly make a difference. And also, too, I know it's tempting to always buy online, like through Amazon or even through eBay, because they're usually a little bit cheaper, but you don't know how people stored that film. And that film, if it gets really warm, like if they stored it in a warm environment or even during the shipping process, it can really drastically change the outcome of your film. I didn't believe it at first. I was like, oh, that just makes no sense. But I got some film on through Amazon because it was like $3 or $4 cheaper, and the film was no good. So the best way, really, truly, to get the freshest packs that, you know, so is fresh and they actually store it properly until they ship it, is through Polaroid Originals website. And I do have a link in my description. If you click on that link, you do get, I believe, 10% off of your order. And it also helps me out. I get loyalty points, which I can turn into money to buy film or anything through Polaroid. But they really are the best place to buy your film, because you know you're getting the freshest film from the factory, and they store it properly until shipment. And when they ship, they actually have it in a nice thicker box, and usually have some of those blow-up air packs that's kind of protecting it. That kind of does insulate a little better too. And the shipping's really quick. Like I think the most it's ever taken 3 business days, and I've always got packages. So I really do recommend you just buy directly from them, because that few dollar savings is not worth it, because you're running a big risk of your film not turning out. But like, and also too, when you get the film, you know, it's almost essential to put it in your refrigerator, because that film, any fluctuation in temperature, I know it sounds crazy, it can truly change the chemistry and it can change the outlook of your film. So thank you guys for being here. I know it's been kind of a long video, but I just really want to go over this camera and how it works and some of the features. And I really do recommend it, like I said. And it's a great Christmas gift. And just check out the description. Like I said, there's a lot of fun links in there to everything. To Polaroid's website, which please use that, because like I said, it helps me out and it also helps you out by getting a little off of your order. Until the next video, guys. See ya.